Hello, friends. Hello. Happy New Year. Happy January. Happy
Yeah.
2025. And I have to say, as you come to this video for the Cancer full moon, you might not be feeling very happy. Um, when I felt it intuitively to the energy of this Cancer full moon, it was a lot of feelings. And I have to just say straight up, it was kind of ragey. Like it
Yeah.
felt like a lot of kind of Marsy, ragey. It felt very ripply, like this kind of energy that was rippling out. And it was a very kind of anger fueled, rage filled energy, but it was also very activating. Like it made me want to move. It made me want to do things. And so I just want to let you know if you all are feeling a lot of emotions, and especially kind of more like hot emotions of rage, frustration, anger, overwhelm, but you're also feeling this strong desire to do something with it, to make some kind of action with this energy, to make it lead to something. You are totally feeling the energies of this Cancer full moon that is coming on January 13th, 2025. So let's chat a little bit about Cancer, shall we? And I'm just gonna like straight up say that I am a Cancer sun, Cancer rising with a Venus in Cancer. I am like quintessential Cancer energy in so many ways. So this
Yes, you
is going to
are.
be a emotive moon for me. I'm so glad we're actually filming this like a good week before moon, so I can be in a more neutral space because I'm sure when we get to this actual lunation, I will be feeling all kinds of things with my Cancer placements. Um, but some things about Cancer. I mean, Cancer is the cardinal water sign, which means Cancer is a feeler, is extremely intuitive, but Cancer is also an initiator, an instigator with that cardinal energy. A lot of times when we think about Cancer, we think about that mother energy. But what's really interesting about Cancer energy is that Cancer isn't like your and my mother. That's more like Virgo energy, like our earthly, like our actual mother of our beings. Cancer is like Mother Earth energy. Cancer is like primordial Mother energy, which is fierce. I mean, it's very loving, but it's also fierce and protective. And if you think about
Right.
Cancer, the crab with the claw, like we will pinch.
Right.
We have that hard shell too. We protect our vulnerabilities
Hmm.
because we're really soft. I mean,
Yeah. On the inside. Yes.
we're
Hmm.
soft. Would
Yes.
you say so, baby? You know what I mean? That's the kind of energy. But we're also the mother. We're the mother and the baby at the same time.
Right.
Um, so the light side of Cancer is so compassionate, so nurturing, so loving, so intuitive, so
Intuitive. Yes.
intuitive. Really caring for others, seeing others.
Yep.
Cancer actually has really good cheerleading energy, not so much in that like rah rah go go, but more like I see you. You're worthy. Like
Yeah.
like that kind of nurturing type energy. Now, on the shadow side, Cancer can be super sensitive and Cancer can also be so stubborn. Um
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness.
like uh, trust me, letting go with Cancer, Sun rising and Taurus moon. Oh, it's a lifelong journey for me here, friends. Um, but Cancer can have a little bit of that like hard to let go energy with it because Cancer is also extremely loyal. Like
Yes.
loyal sometimes to the point of their own detriment
Hmm.
because they don't know when it's time to say enough.
Right.
And while Cancer can be so amazingly loving and nurturing for others, I think, and this is something I was experienced in my own life, I think Cancer sometimes can have a harder time directing that to themselves.
Yes. Absolutely.
So with this particular lunation, there can be, just with a Cancer moon in general, a lot more emotions that come up.
Right.
Sometimes it can
Exactly.
feel like sadness, and depending on you and your chart and where Cancer is for you in your chart, it might come out in different ways. For me, with Cancer being in my first house, um, which is my house of identity and image and
Approach to life.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it personality at first
Yes. It's
house? Yeah.
personality. It's your attitudes. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I just know this is going to be hitting me in a personal way.
Oh
It's
yeah.
personal.
It's very personal for you. I mean, not only in your first house, but then with all those really personal planets as well too.
Yeah.
Venus, Sun, the Sun, all of that. So
Yeah. And when I felt it intuitively, there was really this sense of like I mentioned it earlier. I felt this kind of fiery type energy. I felt it really rippling out from my sacral in particular. And the sacral is the house of our most authentic emotion. So it wasn't a rage that was coming from my head. It was a rage, a fiery rage that was coming from my sacral, which to me is a sign that this is an authentic emotion, an authentic rage. Now, many of us only have to look at what's happening in the world to be able to tap into an authentic righteous rage. um, and I think so many of us actually go throughout our days kind of repressing that.
yeah,
And this Cancer
absolutely.
full moon is like, no, no, it's time to bring it forward because that's
Yeah.
what full moons do. They illuminate what we are wanting to be moved through for our greater transformation, transmutation. And that's what this Cancer full moon is doing. It is bringing up some of that rage, some of that fiery energy, some of that righteousness, so that we can actually utilize that energy as a catalyst for transformation in our lives. Perhaps it's from our boundaries. That's a big one with this Cancer full moon, is that sometimes
Yes.
the rage is really asking us to create better boundaries in our own life. And also, it's often asking us to allow for transformations, to let
Right.
things change, to let ourselves change as well. And
Yeah.
often to allow for that, we actually have to move through the rage as opposed to repress it.
Hide it away and just put it, not sit with it and
Yeah,
feel, a lot of times, okay, this is uncomfortable. I'm gonna put it over here. But it's like if you can sit in the discomfort, then you can really process, what to do with it.
yeah,
Whether you need to talk to somebody about it or not talk to somebody about this anymore. But sitting with it is the only way that you're gonna really get through it.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, astrologically, when I felt it intuitively to the rage, and then I saw what was happening astrologically, and Sarah shared with me, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Because Mars is very involved with this lunation. And I'm going to let Sarah kind of take it from
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. So Mars is happening about 3 degrees away from this full moon, which in my books would be a conjunction. Um, and Mars has been retrograding since December, and it's most recently moved back into the sign of Cancer, which is all the things we've been talking about. But more importantly, Mars does not like being in Cancer. Mars does not like to sit with feelings. Mars likes to do something about it, right? So Mars is already very uncomfortable here. Like, I would say Mars in Cancer is like passive aggressiveness at best. Um, but it's kind of that we're not going to fully process this. This just feels icky, so we're not going to talk about it kind of thing. But we're still feeling it on a level and maybe acting out of emotions instead of sitting with our emotions. So then we bring in this full moon that's happening so close to it, and it just superpowers this Mars energy with full emotions. And not only that, but we have Neptune at play with this one as well. Luckily, it's a supportive connection. It's not like a square or an opposition that brings tension into the game. But Neptune is still influencing this full moon, which brings a little bit of like illusion, confusion. I have all this energy and this emotion, and I want to take action, but I don't exactly know what direction to go in, you know? Um, so I feel like that also builds with the frustration of like, oh, what do I do with all of this pent up energy? Um, but then we have Uranus also at play, making a pretty much exact connection. Yes, an exact connection with the sun and the moon, obviously, because they're both at play with a full moon. And it's a harmonious connection. So just when we're like, oh, I don't know what to do, I feel like this Uranus connection is going to be the one to bring in like a solution that we hadn't thought of before. So instead of us trying to like come up with a solution, this Uranus energy might kind of bring us one in a very unexpected way. So how I might tap into this energy if I'm feeling overwhelmed, with a lot of angst is definitely don't disassociate, which I do very frequently. So no judgment if you do. But if you can try to just kind of try on different things without judging yourself, um, so that even if it's like, oh, I've never done this before, this is weird, like just go with it a little bit. Just try it for like set a timer for like 5 minutes, 2 minutes, something like that. And just see if that helps you work through the emotion. Um, because I mean, Mars retrograde alone really has to do with what you were saying about Mars retrograde in Cancer about emotional boundaries. That's something that I've talked about before with this Mars retrograde. Um, so yeah, I think it's really important to play with the things that can help you balance your emotions. Like, I don't know if you find that maybe you need more alone time or more time to process things after a certain hang with a person or family. Like maybe you need to move your body, somatic therapy, anything like whatever it is. Maybe you need to find someone that you can talk to. Those are all emotional boundaries, right? Like how you can process these things rather than just putting them off to the side. So I think this full moon would be a really good time to kind of try on a few different things. Um, yeah, so that you can just see what works. And worst case scenario, you have a list of things that don't feel good. You know.
Well, I love that. And just so you guys know, we actually have in the Moon blog, I offer some suggestions of some kind of constructive ways to move anger through the body, whether it's like a somatic rage ritual or even getting creative. Like creativity is actually a really great way to move anger through the body. So on the Moon blog, which we'll link below, we offer some suggestions for like how to work with rage energy in a more constructive way. And then we also offer some suggestions for working with the energies of this moon. Now, what you were talking about earlier, um, you were sharing with Neptune has us feeling almost a little bit like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to who to trust. And that's kind of an interesting point because that was another thing I was really feeling intuitively with this full moon was this sense of like, and that's almost like a catalyst for why we're feeling rage is
Mm,
because it's like, I don't know who to trust. I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know what's true anymore. And I think many of us have been experiencing a bit of that for years now.
yeah,
Years
yeah,
now, as we're kind of in a time when certain systems are failing. It's very obvious that a lot of the ways that we consume media is manipulated. And there's a lots of different players with lots of different, what's the word I'm looking for? Objectives at play who
yes. Yep,
manipulate information and how we receive that information. And so it's actually, I think, a really normal response for us to be feeling like, I don't know who to trust.
right.
I don't know what to trust. And so this Cancer full moon is actually trying to come in and remind us, trust yourself. Trust
Mm,
these emotions. Trust your rage. Trust your confusion. Trust it. It's asking something of you. And
right,
often what it's asking of is that look at our boundaries or look at where can I transmute this energy? Where can I bring this energy through and use it for a more beneficial movement within me?
right, right. And also, to add that up, to just add another layer, it's like we hear confusion. I think we go, oh, like I don't want to be confused, but I think these moments of questioning things are really necessary and really important. So although it's not like a tense transit with Neptune, it's here, that confusion is here to support us and
Yeah.
bring us clarity in the end.
I've
Because
gotten so comfortable with confusion. At this
I,
point,
I
I'm
mean,
like, what?
right?
That's just normal. Who knows what they're
Exactly.
doing at this point? Not me.
I think a lot of us are. Which, you know what? That's fine. Neptune is doing her thing right now. She's being very strong. So I think it's a good
The
thing to get comfortable with confusion so that we can understand how to find clarity.
Well, it's almost like that same idea of like get comfortable with confusion, get comfortable with discomfort because, and just like get comfortable with anger, get comfortable with the
Right.
fear, get comfortable with it. That's how we actually process and move through it. And I don't know about you, but I know for me, this last year in particular has been a lot of like, instead of looking at this confusion as a way to berate myself or be like, I'm doing everything wrong, I'm actually looking at it as a way of me co-creating,
Yeah.
co-manifesting. Like, I have a certain vision, I have certain goals, I have certain paths that I'm constantly moving forward to, but I'm also very open to how that flow might shift or change or bounce around because
Good.
I have
Yeah.
experienced already, like, I have no control over so many things. So,
Right.
and trying to control the uncontrollable is a recipe for not feeling happy or good. So,
It's right, just being disappointed.
yeah, like lots of disappointments and expectations. And one of the things I've learned in my own spiritual journey is, for me in particular, expectations kill my manifestations.
Yeah, totally.
So part of me learning to disconnect from expectations and actually have detachment,
Yes.
which detachment to me is almost like a
Mhm.
healthy way to disassociate, right?
Oh,
Like,
exactly. Right. Exactly. I mean, there's always a balance
yeah,
of
yeah.
everything, but I feel like, I don't know, I've learned that in therapy as well too, of like
Yes. Neutrality
detaching to
versus
a level.
apathy. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's kind of, like, yes, we can have wants and
Yeah.
desires, but then being okay with them, like you say, being molded into something
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
me personally, that's how I've allowed my desires to fuel me as opposed to drain me. Because I think
Mm,
sometimes when we have these desires and we're working toward it and we're manifesting it and we're magically, and it's not coming, it can end up feeling as though my desire is actually bleeding energy from me.
yeah.
Because it feels like now it's less attainable, less attainable. Whereas if we can kind of just be like, those desires are there, and I'm going to take aligned actions to get me there, but I'm also just going to let go of them a little bit too,
Yeah.
then we can actually still allow the desires to be a fueling energy for us because we're not having these expectations, especially these time restrictions
Yeah.
on these expectations as well. So, anyway,
And before you move on, I just want to
yeah.
say this whole thing we're talking about is very Mars retrograde in Cancer.
Oh
Because
my,
Mars is all about desires, motivations, and retrograde, we're reflecting on all those things and then bringing the Cancer in of just like how do those desires and emotions relate to I mean, desires and motivations relate to our emotions.
oh
So
my gosh.
those things that Raquel was just talking about are great things to reflect on now through February, I think it's 24th.
Yeah.
Mars is retrograde in Cancer, and then it's in Cancer until April. So just have a good time with these conversations.
Well, and I love that because it actually, I think, I mean, I know, listen, Cancer, like I've been hearing about this Mars and Cancer, and I'm just like, oh my God, my first half of the year. And I'm like, you know what? No, because I love what you just shared, because ultimately what it's saying is that Mars in retrograde is actually giving us a moment to
Yeah.
realign with our desires, to
Yep.
realign with our motivation in a way that is fueling for us.
Yes.
That's
Exactly.
beautiful.
That's very beautiful.
That's a
That's
great
why,
way
I
to start
mean,
the year.
I'm into retrogrades. They have us reflecting
Yeah.
so that we have clarity to move forward with confidence.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love it. Okay, so there's just one other thing I want to briefly touch upon before we call it a wrap for this Cancer full moon, and that has to do with the lunar nodes themselves. Um, which I don't want to get too much into the lunar nodes because honestly, I don't think I can explain it that well, but it has to do with the moon itself and the way that the moon and the sun hit each other in axes as they're like moving around the earth. Basically, the
Yeah.
lunar nodes are what create our eclipse seasons. And when the lunar nodes shift, which means the north node shifts signs and the south node shifts signs,
Yeah.
what it's telling us is that there's a new story coming into play, especially as related to our collective emotions, which is what the moon represents. And the nodes are always about the moon. So on January 11th, we have the lunar nodes shifting with the north node moving into Pisces and the south node moving into Virgo. Now, if you've ever had your own birth chart read and you've learned a little bit about your north node and south node, I hear different astrologers explain it differently. The way that it resonates most for me is the North Node is kind of where we're moving toward. What would be in our best beneficial, what would be in our best benefit to align our actions toward. Where the South Node is kind of like we've already kind of mastered some of these energies, and there's some of these energies we want to take with us into going toward the North Node, and then there are some of these energies we want to let go of as we also move toward this North Node. So, with the North Node moving into Pisces and the South Node moving into Virgo, we're moving into a bit more of the collective, moving toward more surrender, more trust, more spiritual connection. But on the shadow side, there might be a little bit more escapism,
Absolutely.
a little bit more. Um, ungroundedness, because Pisces
Right.
can have a little bit of that as well. And then moving away with the South Node moving into Virgo, we're moving away from some perfectionism, control issues, and like over analyzing and over judging. Because I feel like Virgo energy can be kind of judgmental as well.
Yes.
That kind of like
Yeah.
cancel culture energy is very Virgo energy to me. It's like everyone must be perfect. And if you're not perfect, then we cancel you. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Um, but with us moving away from Virgo, with Virgo being in the South Node, we're also moving a little bit away from like, hey, facts,
Right.
like data,
Right.
organization. Um, so like there's always light and shadow with everything. Me personally, in my birth chart, my North Node is Virgo and my South Node is Pisces. So I'm just like curious as to the fact that my Node and South Node are like opposite to what this is, like how that might play out. Personally, I love a Pisces North Node. I kind of wish my North Node was Pisces because I'm like all here for it, which is probably why I have to move away from it in this lifetime. But whatever, you know, growth. I know.
Yeah.
So you want to grow. I get it. I get it. Um, but there's a part of me that's really excited about this Pisces North Node because for me, it's also a sign of more trust in intuition, more trust in that kind of mystical world. And
Yes.
honestly, with what I see playing out in the 3D, like in the actual reality, I'm like, I don't really see how this is gonna take part, but I love the fact that it's there. For me, it feels like it's something that's very reassuring with
Yeah.
everything that's going on, that we have this kind of north node into Pisces.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think it will have us seeing the opportunities of how things are connected to one another, how we're all connected to one another, and collectivism, and kind of acting in a bit, seeing things in a bit more of a compassionate light. Um,
And
and there's
magical, a more
And
magical way too.
magical,
Yeah.
right, as well. And I mean, there's lots of ways to interpret Neptune moving into Aries, which is happening later this year, but I like that these two are happening together because I feel like they'll support each other. Obviously, Neptune was more comfortable in Pisces. But with Neptune moving into Aries, it means it's like a new beginning in terms of all things Neptunian, which is spirituality, which is our ideals, which is our dreams. Um, so I don't know. I kind of like that these two things are happening together, where it's a fresh beginning in how we're looking at these things, and we're also growing towards creating new connections with these things. So
Yeah.
I feel like it makes it, I don't know, it just feels like a nice friendship
Yeah.
and conversation that they're having together.
And the Neptune moving into Aries, that's the end of March, correct? That's
Correct.
March
That's the end
30th.
of.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So we'll obviously talk about that in the moon video that's closer to that. But also,
Yes.
if you guys are interested in some of the astrology of 2025, some of the energy, and especially about the eclipses coming in 2025, Sarah and I actually have a video that we created called the Astrology and Energetics of 2025, and it is in our Intuitive Moon community. It's one of our expansion opportunities. So if you want more information, check down below. The Moon community is actually, the doors are softly open right now for those who are already here with us, and we'll have a much larger launch at the end of the month. But if you're curious, the doors are open. So go down, check out the links below, check out what we have available in the Intuitive Moon community, and we already have an expansion opportunity all about the energetics and astrology of 2025 for you in there. So, I think that's it for this
Yeah.
Cancer full moon. Oh, the one thing I did want to say also with the lunar nodes is that I do feel like that, North node into Pisces does feel very supportive of this Cancer full moon as well. And again, this
Yes.
nodal shift is happening 2 days. It's happening on January 11th, which is just 2 days before the Cancer full moon. And when we're talking about full moons and new moons and the first quarter and last quarter moons, those typically are felt for the day of and 2 days before and 2 days after as well. It's like we usually feel a certain lunation for about 3 days, especially if it's a full moon and a new moon and first quarter and last quarter moons. We can feel the energies of that for about three days fully. So I feel like we're already going to be feeling some of that Cancer full moon energy with the lunar nodes shifting on the
Totally.
11th. And with that North node moving into a water sign and with this lunation being in a water sign, there is a beautiful kind of pairing there as well. And just a reminder of us to trust our emotions, to allow for our
Yeah.
emotions, to not repress them, to know that there's wisdom and guidance and um, just so much trust that we can gain when we allow ourselves to be with ourselves in that way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
I love
So
it.
for more, including, how to work with this moon, even including some ways to work with the energies of rage and more, sorry, excuse me, beneficial and constructive ways. Let me take a sip of something. Hold on. All of a sudden, I have a little something in my throat. All right, there we go. Check out the moon blog. We'll have it linked below. We have that available for you. And if you're wanting more guidance to work with the moon, we have resources for you. We have a free moon magic guide. I will link below, totally free. And this helps you work through the energies of every lunar phase, gives you rituals to use, different herbs and crystal allies. So it's just a really great way for you to start aligning your life to the magic of the moon and allow the moon to bring more magic into your life. And with it being January 2025, this is a great time to get started with that. So we'll link that below. And for those who are looking for a supportive community to continue expanding with, to continue learning and growing with, and to even get more information about the moon, including horoscopes and journal prompts for each lunation, please check out our Intuitive Moon community. It is a really wonderful space. We're just getting going right now. So if you get in now, you can get in at the founders level. And we're going to have live circles for the full moons, including me doing intuitive reads. We're going to have rituals and circles for the new moons. We're going to have expansion opportunities, lots of opportunities to learn and grow and connect and support each other. So, all of that is linked below. You'll hear more about it. We're so grateful to have you here. And we hope that this Cancer full moon helps you to trust in yourself, to trust in your own fiery rage, and to use it in ways that benefit you and help you create more boundaries and transformations in your life. So, happy full moon.
Yay.
Thanks, friends. See
Beautiful.
you next time. Bye.
Bye.